Hello everyone, and welcome to a coloring tutorial from Jamie D Designs. I just wanted to take a minute and show you guys some ideas on how to color some of these awesome folds in her dress, or pleats, or whatever it is that you'd like to call them. So this is Alice from Craft and Kimmy Stamps, and the markers I'm using today are 100, which is a black, and then I'm using my T series, which is T8 toner gray, T6, T4, and T2. And yes, those get really light, but you do need to be able to put in some highlight and stuff in here. So I wanted to show you guys just a couple of pleats or folds over here on this side so you can see what I'm doing, and hopefully give you guys some ideas and help you out with some of those folds. So we are going to start with the 100, which is the black. And let me see if I can put that up there in the frame for you. I do turn my paper a lot, so be prepared to get dizzy. And basically what you want to look at with this is, I try to look at like if the sun is coming kind of straight at her when I do pleats. It just makes life a lot easier for me. So I try to just look at if the sun was, maybe like the direction of my pin, just kind of coming straight down at her, sort of. So I look first for where the shadows might be, and I'm gonna start working on this front part of her dress right here, and hopefully my hand doesn't cover everything for you, but this little part right here, I know it's kind of hard to see, is a bow, and so this is actually the inner part of her dress. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop in my shadows of, I know that her little bow would leave a shadow on her waist, and I know that her arm would cast a shadow down on the dress, and I know that these pleats would leave a shadow there. I switch my markers a lot when I'm coloring pleats like this. And guys, I totally apologize if you can hear the construction noise. It's going to be happening for a couple of months here. My neighbors are building a house, so there will be lots of construction noise in my life for the next few months. Down to T6. And just coloring in, I'm not too worried about this part because I know it's going to be cast in a deep shadow because it's so far in and so far away from the sun. So definitely not too overly concerned about that. So I'm going to go back to my 100, and I'm going to look here for where I know that the shadows will be. So I know that this part of her dress is folding, and I try not to break this down too much and get too picky about it, but I know that this part of her dress is kind of folding away from the sun, and I know that this section right here would actually cast a shadow onto this section. So I'm gonna leave a little bit. I have to concentrate. I'm gonna mimic the shape of the dress just a little bit and allow that to shadow where where the sun would hit that. I do like to go a little bit further. I won't do one teeny tiny pleat all at the same time. So again, this part of her dress is actually going to cast a shadow down onto this back part of her dress. So again, I take my marker and I thicken up this line to make where that shadow would come. Yes, some of this will blend together so you won't see a ton of your lines, but that's okay, because if this was an actual photograph of somebody, the same thing might happen. So just kind of going in, thickening up that artist drawn line to reflect where my shadows would be. Okay, next, throw my pin at you. Now we're gonna go to T8. With T8, I again just kind of go in, and I don't necessarily blend per se, but I thicken up the line that I just made, because this is still really a dark color. It's not black, but it's just shy of being black. And so you'll see why I don't like to put a lot of ink in here because I don't want it to bleed or anything like that. So you'll see why I switch markers so much and so quickly when I do folds and pleats like this, because I don't want to be in that situation where I'm forced to blend. I want it to just blend straight away. So I want to work fairly quickly while the ink is still really wet and juicy, so that I don't have to worry about going back in to do a second coat, because every time I do a second coat when I'm coloring pleats, it never works out well for me. We're now on T2, and I just honestly go up and down through that color blend to make those pleats come out. Okay, so that was a very little section. We're going to come in and do these little sections. This is my 100 again, and you just want to go essentially right where these would shadow upon one another. And then this part right here, since the sun is again shining from this direction, this part right here will actually be shadowed down here and get lighter as you go up. So I'm just going to add a nice thick line to that part. And again, moving fairly quickly through my markers. That's why I never bite off a big part of my image when I'm doing pleats, because I like to make sure that my ink stays wet so that I don't have to go in and blend a whole bunch. And I want my ink to just be able to blend straight away without a whole lot of effort and without a whole lot of layers. And if I were to go in and just make all of this black, it would look really flat. It wouldn't necessarily, you know, work out so well. You wouldn't see that depth, you wouldn't see that dimension. So that's why I'm really careful about where I go with some of these markers and how I kind of blend them out and what I'm doing as far as that goes, so that you really get that dimension in there. You can tell, like, I totally slow down talking when I'm trying to concentrate and get these in there really nicely. With this last marker, the T2 that I just used, I do go over the image in like a kind of top to bottom, or like where the sun starts out to where it shadows, so that it blends all of those colors. So if I did have lines or whatever where those colors were, I would be able to blend those out smoothly so that you could tell. So I'm back to my 100, and I'm going to work on these little pleats right here. They're going to be dark down here in the shadow from the bottom, but you can see that this is folded out towards the sun and this is folded in away from the sun. So although I am not huge on my color theory, you know, my light source theory and all of that stuff, I have paid attention to, like, if you look online at like just regular photography and where the light hits on dresses and that sort of thing, you know, look up things like petticoats, tutus, those types of dresses, or long flowing dresses that have lots and lots of these folds, and you will be able to see, just in photography wise, where those shadows hit, and you can kind of start to mimic that in your coloring of where these shadows, you know, hit in real life. and what that does to the fabric, to the material, to the dress. And that honestly is the best source, I think, because I mean, let's face it, when we're coloring these, we do want a touch of realism, otherwise it wouldn't be, I don't know, wouldn't really be the look that we're going for. So, and again, you notice I just do small sections. I don't take off more than I can chew, like I said, because I want this to be smooth. I want to take my time without feeling like I've really got to rush through these colors and these pleats. I want to be able to really think about where the sun is hitting the material, why it's hitting the material. And like I said, I'm not too up on my whole light theory scenario, but I do look at some photos and stuff now and again online just to brush myself up. And honestly, I look at other people's coloring too, because you find those great colorists out there that, you know, really know what they're doing and are really great on their light source and stuff. And you can see what it is that they've done and sort of mimic that as well, as far as your light source goes and where you're putting your shading in at and those sorts of things. So I hope this little tutorial has helped, or at least shown you what it is that I do, and maybe get you into coloring some of these super fun images. Especially, like I said, this one's from Craft and Kimmy, and there's lots and lots of really fun images that have these super cool pleats on them. There's one that's called Make a Splash, and she's wearing layers and layers of petticoats, and it's one of my favorites to color because there is so much of that detail, and I don't know, I adore coloring it. This is Alice again, and you can find her at craftandkimmystamps.com, and I would love to see you give it a go. So I will see you all later, and I will definitely post a picture of her when I'm done coloring her. So thanks very much. Toodles!